Hello, friends. Ariana here. I am the founder of the 5D Business Collective, and I am back with another episode of 3D Business Bites. So, this is a series where I dive into some of the more nitty gritty details of starting and growing and running an intuitive business. A lot of the time here in the 5D Business Collective, we like to talk about the energetics of business, how to bring your spirit guides into your business, how to really connect with the spirit of your business and to see what wants to come through, and all of the wonderful magical aspects of running an intuitive business. And sometimes we also just need to know the nuts and bolts of how to start a business. How do I register it? What do I need for legal things? So that's what we're going over in this series. Hello, Selena. So glad that you are joining us. And hello, Court. Look at that. We got friends on. Cool. And so today what I'm talking about is we had somebody in our community, the collective, ask about creating rates for your business. Like, how do I package together all of the things that I do and put a price tag on them? And this is a really great question because, a lot of the work that we do, it really is priceless. If you think of what it is that you offer for your clients, the transformations that you facilitate in their lives, the ways in which you allow them to connect to their true authentic selves and their purpose and their mission, we can't really put a price tag on that. Like, we can't be like, oh, that's worth $50 an hour and that one's worth $200. So know that this process of creating rates for your services, it's just an arbitrary number. It's an energetic piece, and it's what feels right to you and what you can help align with the clients who you're wanting to work with. So this is a really deep topic, and I'm not going to go into everything because I'll be talking on here for like 2 hours if we do, but we're just going to go over some kind of basic points to consider in the beginning. So what we're going to go over is how to come up with your hourly rate, and why also your hourly rate's maybe not that important, what to consider when pricing your services, and how you can make your services more accessible for folks while still ensuring that you're feeling well-resourced by your business. And that's a really, really important piece. So I'm just going to go through my notes here so make sure I don't forget anything. So the first thing we want to look at is like hourly rate. And this is essentially like what you want to be earning per hour. And so a way that you can figure this out is you can look at how much money you want to be making in a year. So like, what's that annual revenue that you want to be generating? And for a lot of people, they say, oh, I want to earn $100,000 because somewhere along the way, $100K per year became this like arbitrary marker of success in the online business world. I don't know where it came from, but so like we could just use that as an example. And then how many hours a week do you want to be working? And how many weeks a year do you want to be working? Like, do you want to work 52 weeks a year? Do you want to take 2 weeks off, 4 weeks off? Do you want to take 10 weeks off a year? So first look at, okay, how much money do I want to be making throughout the year in total? What's that grand number at the end of the year? How many weeks per year do I want to be working? And then how many hours per week do I want to be working? So you can do some math there and then come up with a number and be like, okay, so if I want to be making this much a year and I only want to be working, say, like 45 weeks a year, and I want to work 20 hours a week, this is how much I need to charge. The thing is, though, with that, especially in the beginning of your business, and oftentimes a lot longer in business, like I'm 8 years in and I am still in this, is like you're going to have hours that you're working where you're not actually like generating income. So I look at my like direct income generating hours as times where I am on calls with clients, where I'm facilitating group calls, things like that. Yours might look a little bit different. But, there's probably going to be times where you're doing some bookkeeping, where you're creating content, where you're putting together a program. And those are hours that you're working, but you're not actually, like, no one's paying you for those hours. So what we need to look at then is, do we need to increase the hourly rate with clients in order to offset some of those like non-income generating hours? Do we need to spend less time doing some of the non-income generating things? And like, for sure, when you're starting your business, like you have to wear a lot of hats, but we also likely spend a lot of time doing stuff we don't need to be doing. So there's that. And so what this looks like, if I worked it out that my hourly rate for that if I want to earn a certain amount of money and my hourly rate is $60 an hour, when my clients work with me, it's more than $60 an hour. It's significantly more than that. And that allows me to ensure that I'm feeling well-resourced by my business. It allows me to continue to support people and to offer, scholarships and sliding scales and things like that. And it also makes it so that when I'm spending, say, a few hours getting ready for a client session or wrapping up or creating content or things like that, the money that I generated in that hour with a particular client kind of like spills over into other hours. So when you are looking at your hourly rate, big takeaway here is to just remember that you're not going to get paid for every single hour that you're working. And so what are you going to do to navigate that? How much extra will you charge for your client sessions to offset those non-income generating hours? Now, why this is also like kind of irrelevant, like it's helpful for you as a business owner to know, but what I really encourage folks to do, when you're offering packages and when you're offering things to clients, to get out of the mindset of like, oh, they're paying me this per hour. So with my, for example, one-on-one coaching clients, when I work with them in bigger containers, the investment that I share is for the container itself. It's not, oh, you have a 1-hour call with me this week and I will be available to you for 30 minutes in between calls and things like that. And that's what you're paying for. Like I look at the full container that I am providing for them. And then I attach an investment onto that. And it allows me then I price it in a way so that I can be there for clients in between calls so that I don't feel resentful responding to emails or spending a half hour putting together resources from things that came up during our call because I haven't based it off of their 1 hour with me per week. This whole concept of like you get X amount of hours to me for a session or whatever it may be, it's a very linear way of thinking. And if you work with people, you know that transformation isn't always linear. Sometimes I have clients who were done on a call within like 30 minutes and other times we need to go for like 90 minutes. And I want to be able to give my clients that time and space to go through their process without being like, well, you only paid me for an hour, so sorry. So the hourly rate is something that is beneficial for you as the business owner to have in mind. But, for your work with your clients, I would encourage you to get beyond the mindset of like, how much are they paying me per hour? And how much are they paying me for this experience, for this transformation, for the resources, and for all of the things that they're getting as a result of working together? And so that leads us into the next point is what to consider when you're coming up with when you're pricing your services. And so I've started to allude to some of this already. And, we first want to look at like, what is the transformation that you're providing? And again, sometimes we can't attach a price to this. It really is priceless what we do for our clients. But some things are quote unquote bigger than others. And so for me personally, and this is just how I look at it within my own business, for my business coaching clients, there can be a direct, like there is a measurable return on investment for them. So my clients, if they invest a certain amount of money into working with me, ideally the goal is that they will have earned more income as a result of what we've done together. So there's that return on investment. When I was a personal trainer and I was supporting people with becoming faster runners and improving their strength and things like that, it was harder for me to come up with like a measurable return on investment. Still a big transformation, but it is oftentimes easier to communicate that when there's like a financial piece. Doesn't mean that we can't help people see that return on investment, but what I find is that when I can like show people like, oh, by working with me, like we can help you increase your clients or we can help you increase this or that, that's a really big meaningful piece for them. you might be able to show people how you can like help them save money. So maybe they're not going to be spending time on like going out eating and drinking as much or things like that. Maybe this transformation that you're delivering will help them find a new career. It'll help them become more aligned with their purpose. Maybe it'll help them break patterns that they've been dealing with their entire lives, and like, how can you put a price tag on that, and what is that worth? So a lot of this really comes from like trusting in what it is that you are supporting people with, and then being able to communicate that to people and to help them see that for themselves. So a lot of the time it really comes down to like effective marketing. And I don't mean this in the way of like, oh, how can you like lie about this so people see the value? But it's like, how can you help people become like their own guides on this? Like, how can you help them really tap into how important this thing is for them? And if it's not important and they don't want to invest, that's okay, because there's somebody else who will be willing to make that investment. So when you're pricing your services, look at the transformation that you're providing. How important is this to people? And who are the people that you're wanting to help? So are you looking to support people who would likely be in a higher income bracket? You know, it would be kind of tough, not impossible, but harder if you're wanting to charge, say, like $10,000 for a 3-month program, and you're wanting to work with somebody who has maybe lost their job and they're looking to find a new career path. Like, it's not impossible, but it would be hard. And you might end up like kind of leading people to take out loans and things like that. And there's some debate on whether that is actually ethical or not. That being said, you know, if you're wanting to work with like high performers, CEOs, entrepreneurs who have thriving businesses, but they're not taking proper care of themselves and they're feeling burned out and disconnected from their intuition, that is a demographic that can likely afford a higher investment. So we want to look at who we're targeting. Do we want to work with single moms? Do single moms have a lot of expendable income? Some yes, some no. Again, we can't generalize, but we can look at who we're wanting to support and see what feels right for us and like what's going to feel right for them. We also want to consider how much time and access are people going to have to you. So for example, if you're doing an ebook where maybe they download it, they get some guided meditations, they get some journal prompts, things like that. Offerings like that where they don't actually connect with you beyond maybe asking you a couple questions about it and then purchasing it, those usually will have a lower price tag because they're not getting as much access to you. They have to kind of do it more on their own. There's a concept that I teach called the hierarchy of service. And essentially, as we go up this pyramid, so at the bottom, we have like our foundation of free content. And then above, we might have like an ebook or a low priced course or something like that. And then above, we maybe have some group offerings. And then above, we have one-on-one. And as people move up the pyramid, the investment typically goes up because the amount of access that they have to you goes up and the amount of support that they get from you goes up. Similarly, as they're going down, like it's kind of more like a DIY approach, there's usually like a lower price tag involved. Again, not always, but this is kind of generally how we do it. So, you know, if somebody is getting a lot of access to you, if you are making yourself available basically at all times, of course, with boundaries in place, something like that would likely have a higher investment. And it's not because they're simply paying to be in your energy. I don't love that people are promoting this these days, that your investment is that you get to be around me. But really that like, I'm here and I got you. And if you've got a stumbling block, I fully believe in your ability to support yourself through it. And I will be here in your corner if you need some help, kind of thing. It's like what I said about with the containers that I create for my clients. I want to be able to give them the support that they need. And so the investment reflects that so that I can show up and I am feeling well-resourced and supported and not feeling resentful. Other things to consider are like, what are some of the value adds? So if you're working, say, one-on-one, you're doing some intuitive readings for people, are you giving them practices to include afterwards? Are you giving them recordings of their session? Are you sending over customized meditations? Do you have like physical products that you're sending them? All of these things can be worked into the investment. And we also want to make sure that we're not doing what a lot of the internet marketers do, where we have like the price of our course and then we have the like, oh, and then you get a recording of your session, which is valued at $297. And you get this ebook that I made, which is valued at $5,000. And then by the end of it, you're like, it's worth $20,000, but you get it for $197. Absolutely drives me bonkers when I see people doing that. I saw somebody list that their Zoom recording thing was $297. It's like, come on, lady. You go into Zoom, you hit download, you upload it into Dropbox, and you send it. And you likely have your virtual assistant who you're paying like $6 an hour to do that for you. Anyway, little rant. So, let's be honest about it. A lot of the time, I will not price the value adds unless there actually is like a price involved with it. So for example, like for the 5D Business Academy, I'm trying to think here for some of the bonuses that we have. One of them is a free month in the collective, and a month in the collective is $20. So I can say that that's a $20 value add. There are some other things in there that like, they're just extra resources I've created and I don't sell them on their own. And so I don't put a price tag on it. That's just me personally. That feels more in integrity to me. I'm glad you like that, Court. So yeah, we want to consider the value adds. And what we don't want to consider when pricing our services is what other people are charging. And this is a really important one. It's very common, and it's actually really common business advice as well, to go and look and see what your competitors are charging. And fun fact, you have no competitors. There's nobody out there who's doing exactly what you are doing with your energetic makeup and all of that stuff. So forget the word competitor. But what other people are charging is based off of their own relationship with money, the value that they have for what they offer, their demographic, their experience, their beliefs, and all of these different things. And none of that applies to you. You have your own relationship with money. You have your own measure of the value that you are delivering to your clients. You have your own demographic. You have your own blueprint and lessons that you are here on planet Earth to learn. And none of that comes from being like, oh, okay, well, this other chick, she charges this much, so I'm just going to charge the same. Or I'm going to charge a little bit less in the hopes that her clients will come to me, or I'm going to charge more to position myself above. Like, let's get away from that thinking and instead go through these other prompts that I shared and think about what feels right to us. And last but not least, ways to make our services more accessible to folks. This is something that's really, really important to me, especially right now in the online coaching world. Like, I do some work in like spirituality as well, like with breath work and healing and things like that. But within the world of coaching especially, something happened and people are charging like ridiculous amounts for coaching. Like my first business coach, I paid her $10,000 for 3 months, and it was $10,000 US, and she lived like a 40-minute drive for me, and I don't live in the US. And I will just say it drives me crazy when people do that. Charged in US funds when we live in Canada. But on top of that, by the time our 3 months were done, she was charging $30,000 a month for 3 months of coaching with her. And like, not to say that like it's not worth $30,000, but like, I don't know. Afterwards, I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to go. Thanks for working with me. And, people, again, kind of going back on this, like, well, you're paying to be in my energy kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of ego that's really brought into it. And telling people that, like, we need to be, if you're not investing these higher amounts, you're not committed, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't buy into any of that. So what I like to do with my work is find this balance, and it's something that is constantly evolving within my own business. It is not something that has straight answers, and the way that I do this is not necessarily going to be the way that's right for you. But I like to almost do like the Robin Hood approach. So it's like I create higher investments for my containers, and for folks that works for, amazing. I'm really, really grateful that they are able to invest that. And I would never be like, oh, well, you can just take out another credit card if you want to work with me. No, like that's not how I fly. And then what that does is it allows me to feel resourced. And so I can offer scholarships to people. I can offer sliding scales to people. And I'm not always just like in survival mode because I'm just trying to make things accessible to everyone. There are people out there who are making a lot of money. And there are people out there who are willing to invest that money. Last year when COVID started and everyone was like, oh my God, everyone's losing their jobs and like no one's gonna have money to work with me. That was not the case for a lot of people. Like for example, my aunt, she still maintained her salary. She worked from home. She worked fewer hours, so she had more free time. She wasn't spending money on commuting, like all of the things. So it's really important that we don't place our projections around somebody's financial situation onto them. Have your rate. Have your investment. Be bold and be proud and communicate it with confidence. And if that doesn't work with somebody and they genuinely want to work with you, cool. How can you find a way to make that work for both of you? So this could be a sliding scale. Right now, what I'm trying with Breathwork Circles is offering 3 tiers. And I say to people, when you're considering which tier to invest in, like think about how much extra money you spend on like massages each month, or how much you spend on going out to eat or on oat milk lattes and things like that. And it can just help people be like, oh, okay, like I actually spend a lot of money at coffee shops. And so maybe like I can afford to pay like the middle amount or whatever it may be. So sliding scales are great. You can do it without that identifier. You could just say like, it's between this and this, whatever feels good for you. Scholarships are awesome. I am very discerning around who I offer scholarships to. I've had some instances in the past where I've given somebody, I've been like, well, I'll just help you for free. And usually that comes from, when it doesn't work out, it comes from a place of like me being self-conscious and feeling like, okay, well, I don't want you to go anywhere. I want to work with you. So I'm just going to let you do it for free. And that rarely ends up working well. The people often don't show up. They don't get a lot out of it. However, when I've had just this like knowing that this person who's come to me who says that they can't afford it, I can feel when that person like really wants to be supported. And I can feel when I am really just wanting to support them from a place of service and not from a what's going to happen if I don't. And those have turned out to be really, really beautiful exchanges. So scholarships are an option. Trades are an option. Maybe it's another business owner who does something that is like something that you would benefit from. It's just really important that when you're doing trades that you have your have your terms really, really clearly communicated, because sometimes things can get a little bit messy if you have not communicated this clearly. And then there's disagreement over like, well, I didn't hold up, you didn't hold up your end of the deal, or I didn't hold up my end, or whatever it may be. So just make sure those terms are super, super clear. And like I said, just make sure you're being well compensated in other areas. You're not doing anybody any favors by constantly undercharging yourself and being in survival mode and living from a place of scarcity. Of course, there are systems and beliefs and things in place that lead us to be in those states. And I don't want to undermine that. However, it's not noble to just like undercharge all of the time and to like sacrifice your own financial well-being to help others who maybe don't even need that help. So that's just what I want to say about that. All right, so just to recap, what we've covered here is figuring out what you as a business owner, what you want your hourly rate to be. This is not something that you necessarily share with your clients. You don't have to, you can if you want to, but really just think about like, how much money do I want to be making per hour? How many hours do I want to be working, and what do I need to charge? When you're thinking about how to price, what are you helping people with? Who's your target demographic? How much time and access do they get to you? What are the value adds? Don't look at what other people are charging. And then last but not least, sit with some ways to make your services more accessible to others if that is important to you. So my friends, that is all for today. I hear a crying baby outside the door, so I need to go and feed her. And as I have said before, these 3D Business Bites series, it's an opportunity to dive into some nitty-gritty details of business. If there's something that you want covered, send us a message and I will be happy to make a video about it. That being said, I'm gonna go feed my baby. Thanks for tuning in and I will catch you next week.